Monday, it's not fun, but we have to face the facts. We got to take a good look at ourselves. Again, see the things, the areas where we're falling short, address them. We don't hide from them. They are certainly issues. You have to credit Tennessee, as I mentioned after the game. That's one heck of a football team, very good. You have to play good in all three phases. You got to piece it together, and you got to make plays. You got to make competitive plays. I felt like our team played with very good intensity in a lot of areas. Not completely, a lot of areas. I thought their competitive nature was very high. I thought they competed. I thought defensively they really competed and played on an edge. And certainly we made some mistakes, but played with very good intensity. I thought, offensively we tried to be physical. At times we were physical. The guys strained. We moved the ball at times. You got to capitalize. You have to keep up. I mentioned it. I'll address it again briefly. I mentioned it after the game, but you get drives. You got to make competitive catches. You got to convert when you're in the red zone. You got to try to keep pace, and hopefully that changes things. But with a team like Tennessee, if you do not and you turn it over and you give them good field position, whether it be special teams or lack of efficiency offensively, it could get out of hand in a hurry. So there's a lot of things that there's no panic. We have to get back on track and get back to work. We've done that before, and if you compete in this league, you better get used to it. So, that's not good. We will never accept that, but we better get back on the horse here real quick and get ready to compete and play Missouri. Again, you look at it each year. You look at it at the end of the year. There's teams in our league. You got to look at it for some of us, much like the NFL. There's a lot of parity, and there's some elite teams in our league on each side, in the East and the West, and then there's a lot of teams fighting. And Missouri is one of those teams. I give Coach Drink a lot of credit because they had a brutal loss. A few games back in the Auburn game where they essentially were an inch from winning the game. And the team could have went, any which way, and they turn around and play an incredible game, play Georgia as good as anybody's played them, and had a tough loss. Go to Florida and play incredibly well. You could take a couple plays out of that, they could win. Then they, beat Vandy and beat South Carolina, and so they are playing extremely hard. He got those guys regrouped, and they could very easily be 5-3 just like us, and right in the middle of the pack with the rest of the SEC. So this is obviously a big game for us to again not let one turn into two. I don't think that'll happen. I think we have strong leadership on our team. We've already addressed it some post game, and got to get back to work today with our meetings and with practice and get ready to go play a team in Missouri that I'm very impressed with. I think they're playing extremely hard. Coach, has done a really good job of getting that team playing at a high level and doing some really good things. And much like us, after a tough loss or bad beats, you could go either way. And they've responded the right way, and I expect our team to do the same. I mean, with DeAndre, it's doubtful. But you don't know. You put some medicine in there, ice it up, and maybe. But chances are he's not going to play, and so we'll be. DeAndre is a great leader. He'll still have a great impact, and Trevin will step up and play well.
Mark, I've heard the game this past weekend characterized as embarrassing for you guys, but considering that Tennessee was ranked 3, would you call it embarrassing? That Tennessee is who they are.
You're not going to get a headline out of me saying that. You could say whatever you want.
It's embarrassing. I just want to know if you would characterize it.
I'm not going to use that word. I'm not pleased.
Is Jeremy okay? Is he trending to the right direction? He seemed to be laboring, walking off the field after the game.
We'll see. I think he's day to day. He should be out there today or tomorrow.
Mark, I asked you after the game just about overall the state where the offense is right now, after you watch the film, kind of just where do you think the progress has been made, and are you so confident that this is the system that works?
Well, I mean, obviously you're not very pleased with that result. I mean, that's hard to say after a game like that because, once again, I mean, I'm smart enough not to get a headline out of me with acting like I'm pleased with that performance because I'm clearly not, and nobody should be. So you have to always look at things and evaluate things and see the good and the bad and where you're falling short and what else you're going to do. I mean, there's nothing drastic. I mean, you certainly better look at it and you better address it and you better get it fixed or you're not going to last. But again, we've been through it and there's some areas where everybody can do better. Where we could certainly coach better, we could put them in better position. Guys can step up and make plays. We could, personnel, you name it, injury, but there's enough blame to go around, and we are constantly evaluating, constantly looking at things and striving to be better.
Marcus, first, I know that you said that obviously there's no Davis inside this house. You got no Missouri. You just got eliminated all of that. What are some good things that you took out of this game in particular? I would say, I just think one of the take was Derek Jackson, 14.
Yeah, Derek played well, and it's hard. There's you're not going to be perfect, but did a lot of good things. I thought again the competitiveness with a talented team being put in bad positions at times, stepping up, holding no field goal, miss a field goal, just doing things and grinding out some tough stops. But there were some breakdowns again that I've already went through. I don't need to throw darts at any particular player or anything like that. There were some things that are inexcusable against a team like that on both sides and in special teams, all three phases. So, but there was a lot of guys straining and competing against some very good players and stepping up and doing some good things. That's just a piece of it. I know it's easy. It's easy to be a punching bag when you lose like that and take those shots. But for our team, I am going to take the good and show them and watch it there's things in there that we did well.
Tell me, show what big crowds can do to a opposing team on the field last year. That's just in Florida and LSU. And so, having said that, did the home crowd, since they have a lot to do with it, some big ball starts or
Yeah, I mean, I think you see that in every SEC game. I mean, that when you're on the road, there's going to be some. To say that it didn't have any effect is not true. You got to be able to handle it and overcome it. I don't think it was the end-all, be-all, but certainly a tough environment and things that, at times we handled it very well. It wasn't like it was that wasn't why we were so inefficient. Let's put it that way.
Mark, Missouri looked much improved on defense. What do you see from them from the defense?
Yeah, I really think they're playing extremely hard. They always have some guys up front that are disruptive and play very physical, and their structure is good, and they're mixing it up. So they're playing very good as a team. As I mentioned, you just look at them and early on, after a very tough beat with the Auburn, and then playing some really good games and coming up short, you could see the progress. You could see them grinding and playing hard. And again, that's a credit to Coach Drink because that's not easy, and believe me, and I know what we're going to get when we go up there. We're going to get a team that's fired up and coached well and ready to play and compete. And we're all scrapping. Like I said, there's some elite teams on both sides of the East and the West, and then there's a whole bunch of teams that are in there trying to compete for victories.
Mark, when you looked at Will's play from Saturday, when you get in a situation like that, you get behind. Did he seem to have the tendency to force some throws, which would be natural in that position? What did you think the way he played?
It was. It was. It was tough because he got. They got some pressure on him. That we got behind. There were some reads in there that, you look at it, and he was trying to force things and make things happen, even with some of the, run our pass options that we had, after we ran them several times. I mean, the look was to give it, and he's forcing it, but it's not all on him. I think it's the situation we were in, and we certainly need to do a better job, putting him and all of our players in a better position, and we all share in that, and players got to step up and make plays. We talked about going into it that we're going to have some one-on-ones. You got to go make them, and we came up short, and the game got out of hand. I think yeah.
Mark, Will is so competitive, and I know he wants to stay in there the whole game, but toward the end there, the score was kind of out of hand. I mean, did you think about maybe taking him out?
I addressed it after the game. I think you saw that. We handed the ball off. So there was no reason for an operation to get a fumble. You know what I mean? He's plenty warm, but I mean, that was not, we handed the ball off.
Arguably his worst game. How is he doing mindset-wise? You say you never have to worry about how he bounces back.
No, he'll be ready to go. Yeah, he'll be ready to go. He already addressed it after the game, and didn't point fingers. He knows he can play better, and the unit can play better, and the team can play better, and so that's the type of leadership we're looking for.
What have you seen from Trevor in that linebacker?
Mark, in the past when the offense specifically has kind of hit some bumps, you talked about simplifying things. And I know when Rich came in here, we kind of touted his knowledge and how complex his systems were. Is that a thought of maybe having to dumb things down just a little bit?
Yes. Yeah. I think it's a fair criticism and things we got to look at, and why and where we're spending our time, and how all those things we have to look at and put our players in a position to be more successful. So that's on us as well. Yes.
I know you probably point to a lot of different points in the ball game when you say, well, maybe you got away from us here, got away from us there. That was the 4th and 1 when it was on that side of the 6-yard line. They had a pair, jumped in, and got the first down. It appeared that we weren't ready for it. Do you think it may be a point where the game maybe got away from them and you couldn't have a stop there?
That wasn't. There's many other plays. I mean, as I tell the team, and I'll tell you, there's many plays in a game, and sometimes it's not the obvious, and that's not an obvious one, so I'm not criticizing the question. But, I tell the team the same thing. You don't know what one play can change the outcome of a game. I think at that point in time, it was a low-scoring game, maybe 13 or 7-6 or something to that effect. But very difficult to stop it anyway, 4th and 6 inches. And but yeah, I think it's fair. They were looking at it. You know how fast they go, and we were trying to give them the signal. They're looking, and by the time they turned, I don't think we were in great shape.
Mark, you had some offensive drives that really clicked, and you had some momentum like midway through the second quarter, I think. It looked like Tennessee back on its heels a little bit. When you studied the video of that, what kind of things did you take out of that you can present to your team and say, look, we've done this?
That's just it. I think, going into that game that we talked about it, we have to sustain drives and score when we get those opportunities. Number one, just again, our approach, and so, we didn't make the plays. Again, we have a third down that we have an opportunity to get it to the 30, maybe the 20, maybe score. I don't know. I mean, there was definitely one safety back there that could have cleaned it up, but you have an opportunity to try to make him miss, and then the next possession, the interception. It just, again, you just simply can't do that against Tennessee. You have to score when you have opportunities, and that's where, again, I realize, like, I'm a defensive coach. I mean, points matter, but if you constantly give them possessions in good field position against Tennessee, nobody's going to hold up.
When you watch the film, was the extra point that got blocked, was that a low kick, and then the punt too?
It was too much penetration, on that, and too much penetration on the on the field goal, and I thought it could have been higher and a little quicker op. But that's a lot of times it's close. We're very close on 4 or 5, kicks a game. You know what I mean? And we're a fraction off. If and you're counting on just a little slower operation or a little bit of a lower kick, and we've gotten a few too that way. But yeah, so that was it. And then on the punt, we it's just not good enough. I mean, there's no excuse. Just simply not good enough. We got to do a better job, and we will. And so.
Mark, you hear people say kids today, they're not as affected as maybe adults are by things. Do you think it's going to be, will this team be able to like clutch it and move on? Maybe even more so than the coaches who stick in their craw. Yeah,
I mean, that we have to. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. You have to put it behind you. We always address things and look at things and self-evaluate and try to get better and win or lose. And that's not going to change. There are different approaches. Again, and I will talk to the team about that. And it is what it is. I mean, NFL bad beats, SEC bad beats. I mean, what do you just fold the tent? I mean, you just give up after some tough losses? I mean, there's 5 teams in the SEC with a better record than us. And there's some elite, elite. As good as anybody in the country, and so our players understand that nobody's going to give us anything. Nobody's going to feel sorry for us. You got to get back to work. That's the only way around it. I said it after the 2 losses going into Mississippi State. Our team responded, but we have to go play well because this team's playing well and they bounced back from some tough losses and really have done a good job, and we have to respond to that. The last time we went up there, I didn't like our approach, and we got our butts kicked. And so, we're playing our early game. We got back late Saturday, but so what? It is what it is. The situation is what it is. So we're gonna pick it up. We're gonna work. We're gonna punch the clock this week. And I was telling Susan walking over here, I feel surprisingly freaking jacked up and great. Why? Because you have to be. You have to be. Yeah, I felt like crap, all night Saturday night and all day Sunday. But today, I'm freaking jacked up, ready to go.
Brad used the term after the game, football.
And I gotta say, I gotta give Dr. Capilouto part of that because I was exhausted and tired and worked all day, didn't sleep, and late last night, I think Doc was coming in from out of town and stopped in my office about 9 o'clock, and I was in there half dreary, and he was like, I just wanted to pick, patch it, just say, get back in the fight, and I appreciate that. Yeah.
What does something like that mean to you?
Well, it means a lot, it just because I was hitting a little wall. I was like, give me some more coffee, give me some more. And, but, it's just, it does because, as the leader of this football team, you gotta set the tone, and I'm fortunate to have great leaders in the administration that help me and pick me up that way, and we're all in this together, and so it meant a lot.
Dominic Lovett's had a really good year for them at receiver. What do you see from him on tape?
I see a very good player, just a sophomore, and making plays and explosive, and I think they do a nice job of being creative, of finding ways to make sure they're going to get their touches. And so, you could see him and Luther Burden, continuing to be guys that are playmakers.
How's Brady Cook? He looks like he's improved kind of each week.
Yeah, he really is. I thought, he's really doing a nice job. And I think Eli and their staff does a nice job of kind of doing what they do, but they give you a lot to look at, a lot of eye candy and different things, and then they execute. And it's a very evenly matched game. I mean, you sit there and look at them defensively and us. I mean, we're neck and neck. Offensively, we both are dead the same, and basically 24 points a game. And so, it's definitely a game that is important to both of us.
Mark, you talk about the elite teams in this league. Obviously, from where this was 10 years ago to now is night and day different, but is the challenge almost different to make that last step into that elite tier, or is it the same, just
You,
takes more time?
you just keep on grinding, you know what I mean? Keep on chopping that tree, you know, and just, that's what it is, and you try to, you know, put it together, but, you know, people don't just magically at the end of the year say, wow, that was just a great, you know, I mean, you string together days, you know, and have a good days all the time, and then eventually you're gonna have good weeks, and by God, you look at the end of it and say, that was a good year, you know, but for all of us, including them, obviously, it's day to day. And, you know, fans and people, you know, and could look at it differently because you have, you know, that ability to do that. For the rest of us, it's, you know, for them, you know, it's the next challenge, and for us, it's the next challenge, win or lose, you know.
Marcus, fans and media, we ultimately judge you on wins and losses, but as you just alluded to, as coaches, you kind of judge engaging by how your team has improved. Which areas have you sensed the most improvement on the team this year?
I think, again, I mean, I think you know me better than to set me up for a punching bag and punchline. I mean, there's obviously inconsistencies that aren't good enough, John, and, you know, I'm not pleased with it. So you're not going to get me to say that today, you know, but it's not all a wash either. You know, there's some good and there's some bad, and we've been inconsistent, and I own that. You know, I have to accept that. We didn't play good enough.
Mark, how do you feel like Octavius has progressed this season?
I think he's playing really hard. He needs to get his weight back up and his strength, but he's playing really hard. He gives us everything he has. He's quick. You know, with the lower weight, he's quick, but I'd like to see him get that strength back up.
Mark, you mentioned about the cat giving you a pick-me-up and attaboy. Has Mitch given you the same?
Yeah, absolutely. Mitch is always there. And, you know, I don't need an attaboy. You know, it's different. He didn't say attaboy. He just came over to just look me in the eye and say, hey, man, you know, like, let's go. You know what I mean? And so nobody's happy with that. Mitch is not happy with that. I'm not happy with that. Dr. Capilouto is not. But that doesn't mean we're not all in the same corner.
And then you mentioned the coffee. What's your brand of coffee you drink?
No, this is just straight right here. Yeah, strong. I don't know, that machine, I just hit, how many ounces I want and strong. That's right. No cheese, no sugar. Sometimes. This is straight.
He said attaboy, not attaboy.
Yeah.
Anyway, nevertheless, it's jacked me up, so to speak. Is that same thing filtered down to, say, a guy like Ruffalo when it comes off the field?
Absolutely. Our team is good that way, and we've been for years. That doesn't mean we're perfect. Doesn't mean players and coaches and people don't have emotions. And emotions run hot and high. They should. We're all competitors. But at the end of the day, our team knows that we're a team and we're going to be unified. That doesn't mean that there's not accountability. There needs to be accountability, and our players need to continue to step up that accountability. You know, we have some really good leaders, and we have some really young players. There's a little different, you know, so our leaders need to lead and, you know, need to push the accountability as well. I try a lot of things. Obviously, I fail sometimes in the motivation and the prep and the things, but I put a lot of time into it. And, you know, but ultimately right now, our players got to lead.
Like you said, with him, kick the ball through real close.
Yeah, that's right. There's no excuse. I mean, kick the ball through. I mean, that just because there's not an excuse in accountability doesn't mean we give up on each other either.
You mentioned
What about Juton McClain? It seems like you see more and more of him, and he seems to have the skill set that fit what Rich wants to do.
I was really pleased with Juton. I thought he really, he's running really tough. You know, when you see Chris in there and you see some of those runs, and then the other backs get in, you can't help but step it up. And Juton always been a competitor, and, you know, we've believed in him. And he's always been one of those guys that, like, really strains to do things right. He's not perfect, none of us are, but he tries to be. And that's a good quality.
You
You mentioned the motivation tactics not always working. Do you go back to the South Carolina game this season as something that maybe didn't get through to the guys on the night of the game?
I mean, you've covered the sport. I mean, you understand that. I would hope. You know, there's not a lot of teams that are going to play on point every game. I'd like to see one. You know, and you have to be good enough to coach better and to overcome it when you don't. And we weren't that night. You know, so no excuses. You know what I mean? I didn't do my job, and you know, others didn't as well. Again, I just said it 3 different ways. We're all in it together. Nobody's going to point fingers, but you also have to accept it and understand it, and it is what it is. I can't even think back to that exactly and put any one, you know what I mean, one finger on it.
Mark, when you got here, you talked about how it was going to be a process, no shortcuts, it would be a grind, and you've not strayed from that. And obviously there have been big moments, and you credited the fans for lifting you up. But you got some fans now that are kind of panicking a little bit. What's the message to them?
I don't know. I did ask Tony and Susan on the way over here because I've been in my hole working. You know what I mean? And I said, what's going on? And they always give me a little, well, this or that, just to make sure I know what you guys are going to hit me with. But yeah, but yeah, that's between them. But you know, I understand not being happy and frustration. That's fans. That's good fans. There's some passionate fan bases. We just saw one too, you know, and they haven't always been happy, you know, and ours hasn't always been happy. There's going to be good and there's going to be bad. Again, much like the players, we're all in this together. We accept that, we own it, and we still need them. So anybody that's going to jump off that quick, you know what I mean? Like frustration, yes, but just come back and cheer again, and then you could throw darts at me after the next one, but you know, just keep on being fans, and I appreciate them. They've been awesome this year, and I've never shied away from it. The criticism, it comes with the territory, and I mean, I'd be condescending if I said I liked it because I want to win, you know, but it doesn't deter me or fade. You know what I mean? Like I know what it is. Nobody needs to be harder on us than us, you know. So, go ahead. There's 2 more, Tony. Go ahead. Go ahead. Who had one?
No, I'm sorry. 8, 9 years ago, your message was, we're not gonna flinch. Is that still your message?
Yeah, without a doubt. You know that. That's a staple. You know what I mean? That's you could tell them, my man. I'm gonna tell my team, and you know, so. But we're not going to be phased. Like I said, we got to get right back at it this week. And I understand that. Like fans are having their coffee, reading your articles, and that's and I didn't read them, and I'm sure there's criticism. I don't take offense to that. You know, that's your job, and it's not good enough. What more can I? You know, I've been hit on the chin many times. Believe me, and you know, I accept it, and I'll come right back.
Recruiting never stops, so what's your message to guys right now, offensive skill position players in particular, knowing Will's going to the draft, offensive struggles, just what's the vision you're selling?
Well, I mean, they know our system, and they've seen it, you know, and they've seen it be successful, and they've seen us get guys touches in the ball. We fell short, you know, and we're not good enough right now in certain areas, and part of that is on us, you know, and you know, we again have to look at that and make sure we get that fixed. There's not many of us that haven't gone through that.
I was just going to ask about Tennessee. I mean, obviously, you're not the only defense that had trouble stopping him all year. They're going to win about every category. Is it scheme? Is it talent? Is it a combination of the two? After seeing it up close, what makes it so difficult to stop?
The scheme is very good. The tempo is good. With the splits, creates space. And their quarterback's making very good decisions. You know, obviously they have some playmakers, you know, so, you know, I think, you know, you just put it all together and they're playing at a very high clip. And that's what does aggravate you some, is because, like, some of the things we're doing were really good, and some of it, again, I want to kind of quit, because I don't want to put it on any one person, but there's a couple plays that
Different?
yeah, and it's like, why? You know, was it the tempo? Was it the distraction? You know what I mean? Like, you look at it on tape and you're like, what the heck? I mean, not that it's easy. I'm not being like that, 'cause it's not. But I think you just put it all together and it's a lot on the guys. You know, that constant force and your pressure, yeah.
And is it the offense that if you make just one little mistake, they're gonna capitalize on it?
Yeah, without a doubt, and especially when you got a quarterback that's making really good reads. He's putting the ball where he needs to. He's accurate on deep throws, and he can hurt you. He's pulling it down quick and just making those, you know, extending drives till they get to the next series with just little scrambles and yards and making quick, good decisions.
Okay, folks, thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you tomorrow.